Hello and welcome. You know, it's funny, I don't think twice about riding clipless pedals on my road bikes. I've got this set of 84 looks that I bought for my 77 Bianchi, and my other drop bar road bikes are all running Look Keo Sprints. And I love them. I seriously, I don't think twice about running them. But I wouldn't even consider riding clipless on my mountain bikes, and I don't know why I have that hesitation. Because I know many people do, and it's not like it's any more or less dangerous. For some reason I have this feeling that if I'm heading for a tree, I want to bail real quick. Be that as it may. I recently came into possession of some Shimano PD-M540 clipless pedals, so I thought it might be fun just to take them apart and refresh them. I'm not going to repack the bearings and the spindles because these are spinning freely. No need to mess with it. And with that out of the way, take a close look at the nut on the end of the spindle here. You can see evidence of rounding, and this is the case on both of them. And I'm not sure how this is going to go. Are these things like frozen or what? Only one way to find out. And son of a gun, they came off without a problem. I can only assume that somebody before me was ignoring the imprint on the spindle that says tighten and then shows the direction in which to tighten. It couldn't have been any simpler than that. So once the spindle's removed, you can see I guess you could call it like a little tiny cup and cone bearing on the end. You can actually see the bearings here. I'm not touching them because the spindles turn freely. There's no need to finagle with it. Next up is removing the cleats, and these are just simple Phillips head screws. Luckily, once again, they were not frozen, so I was able to remove them pretty easily. And there is some spring tension on the forward ends, or what you might call the toe end. Just pop those off with a screwdriver and there you go. Now once everything is apart, it's time for a good scrubbing. And I'm using here a 50-50 mix of hot water and simple green. I find that works for most of my degreasing needs. Once everything was degreased and clean, I took some 600 grit wet and dry sandpaper and started scraping off the surface rust. Now, I'm not planning on this being able to return them to their full chrome luster. I just wanted to get that lumpy oxidation off of it. And that came out pretty well, all things considered. Now I want you to see here that the springs are asymmetrical. The inboard ends have these little, I guess you could call them J-hooks. And these rest on the spring tensioner pad. And the spring tensioner pad has these four little raised pieces that fit into a corresponding divot on the underside of the cleat. It helps to keep it from spinning all over. So that was that was tricky. I spent more time than I care to contemplate or admit trying to get these back together. I finally figured out that the best way to do it was to lay it flat on the towel and to gingerly thread the axle through the springs while simultaneously holding the adjustment nut in place. And that was a lot more difficult than it sounds. And after a few tries, I finally got it. And then I just turned it over and did the same to the other side. Hey, it worked. That's what I'm interested in at the end of the day. It worked. And then I packed the body where the axle shaft is going to go with some grease. Not having a tube of grease or a fancy applicator, I just mushed a glob of it onto an old piece of cable housing and put it down in there. And putting the axle back in, as you tighten it, it's going to squeeze the new grease up through the bearings and out past the shaft. And that basically is how you can get the old grease out of it without disassembling the whole works. And on the other one that you don't see here, I did it twice to get all the old grease out. If you enjoyed this, and I hope you got some use out of it, there's a link to a playlist for other how-tos that I've done below left, and there's a link to another video below right that I think you'll like. As always, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate that. Goodbye and have a wonderful day.